an initial concern of first responding officers is the health and welfare of the vehicle occupants. Upon their arrival, they will place their motor vehicles in a safe place to avoid secondary accidents. As secondary officers will arrive, they will set up traffic control. As the officers arrive, they'll be dispatching and requesting medical with a short synopsis of injuries. Upon their arrival, we'll assess life-saving measures and relay that information to first responders. Officers are rendering aid to the occupants. The officers are also looking for signs of life, injury, as well as alcohol or drugs involved in the crash.
On this motor vehicle accident, the fire responds with an engine, a rescue, and a truck. The engine is staffed with 4 personnel, a captain, engineer, a firefighter, paramedic, and a firefighter. The rescue is staffed with 2 personnel, a firefighter, paramedic, and a firefighter. Because of the severity of this accident, we've requested the truck and heavy rescue for equipment and manpower. As Engine 98 arrived, the captain gave a size-up. A size-up is a brief description of the accident and also gauges the damage of the vehicles involved. Captain will request additional units if needed at that time. As the captain is assessing the scene for injuries and severity of the damage to the vehicles, the engineer will be securing hazards, stabilizing the vehicle involved, in addressing any leaking fluids that are on the ground. The firefighter, paramedic, and the firefighter perform triage. Triage is the process of determining how many patients and the severity of the injuries. Rescue 98 is ready to assist the engine and the truck and may begin treatment on a patient prior to transporting to a hospital.
Once the rescue units arrive, police will shift their attention to the criminal aspect of the scene. Additionally, they'll work on traffic control and divert any traffic to avoid contamination to the scene. The officers will use information gained from their initial contact and follow-up investigation with more questions they may have regarding the accident. This includes witness statements, video surveillance, and anyone who has further information regarding the crash.
On this scene, there's a total of 3 patients. They've determined 1 has died. That person will be left on scene. They've determined 1 is critically injured and pinned inside the vehicle, requiring extrication. 1 who is seriously injured and can be removed easily out of the vehicle. Because of the damage to the vehicles and the mechanism of injury to the patient, along with the distance to the appropriate trauma center and the time needed to extricate the patient, Mercy Air helicopter has been dispatched to transport the critically injured to the trauma center. The fire department is evaluating the positions of all the people inside the vehicles. They're determining what is the best route to remove the dead patient in order to gain access inside to the living patients. If the deceased patient is moved, we'll place them on a backboard and move the body to a safe location for the police in the coroner to investigate at a later time. The fire department members on truck 98 will be performing hydraulic extrication. They start by evaluating the vehicles to determine what's the fastest and safest way to remove the patients, and then they will remove all the glass from the vehicles if the glass is still intact, which requires them access to the vehicles. They have determined that removing the doors in the roof for the vehicle will provide the best access for the patient. They will be using hydraulic tools, also known as the jaws of life, to cut the doors and the roof. If possible, a firefighter will actually begin treatment for the patient inside the vehicle. The patient inside the vehicle will be shielded from any debris while extrication is being performed.
In this case, it appears as though the accident has resulted in a fatality as well as serious injury to others at the scene. If there is reason to believe that there is a DUI involved, then it would result in felony prosecution due to the injuries involved. That could result in a mandatory 2 to 20-year sentence upon conviction. Officers on the scene divide the work. Half the officers will continue to interview the suspected DUI driver while the others gather evidence at the scene. The DUI interview will include an eye test. This is a test that cannot be practiced and is an accurate way to determine the blood alcohol content of the driver. Other tests that will be done are a series of balance and coordination. This allows officers to determine how well the person can divide their attention on multiple tasks. Much like driving a vehicle requires a person to divide their attention doing several things at once.
Because of the mechanism of this accident, all patients involved will be transported to the appropriate trauma centers. The time frame that firefighters are operating in is called the golden hour. This time frame starts when the accident happens and ends when the patient is in surgery and surgeons are repairing the injuries in the operating room. Some of the treatments the firefighters can provide, if needed, are administering oxygen, starting IVs, giving fluids to replace any blood that they've lost from their injury. They can also intubate a patient, which is placing a tube through the mouth into the lungs to assist breathing if needed, if the patient is not breathing or unconscious. They will also place a C-collar around the patient's neck to prevent further injury to the spinal cord for a possible broken neck.
While medical personnel is attending to the patients, the DUI investigation continues. Currently, they're conducting a field sobriety test with the walk and turn, which is a heel-to-toe step. They're observing the demeanor of the the victim, as well as the unsteady gait.
As the helicopter's arriving, fire department personnel will set up a landing zone, which is a safe distance from the accident scene. At that time, the rescue will assist with loading the patient onto a gurney, transporting him down to where the helicopter lands. For this accident scene, again, Mercy Air has been called in. The helicopter will be landing. We will be transporting one critically injured patient to the trauma center by helicopter.
In 2016 alone, 10,500 alcohol fatalities occurred in the United States. 12 to 20-year-olds account for over 10% of all U.S. alcohol consumption. Every day, DUI-related accidents and deaths pose a threat to everyone in our society. May through August are the deadliest months for teens. 2 out of 3 DUI fatalities are involving males.
As you can see, the fire department was able to remove the roof, which gives us complete access to the patient. At this time, the fire department members will hop into the vehicle and be able to safely extricate the patient.
As medical continues to assist the patients, our police officers are continuing their DUI investigation. Following the one-leg stand, they're continuing their interview of the suspected drunk driver.
Fire department personnel have removed or extricated the patient from the vehicle. They will immediately begin life-saving treatment as they wait for the helicopter to land. The average time from this location is approximately 20 minutes to Sunrise Hospital. Helicopter flight will take approximately 4 to 5 minutes in the air.
The officers who are gathering evidence will also make a diagram of the scene. Using the diagram, the accident can be recreated later in a courtroom to show a judge and jury how the crash occurred. It can assist the officers in determining the direction of vehicles were going and at what speed. It can assist in determining what vehicle failed to follow proper procedures and caused the crash. At this time, the officers conducting the investigation has determined the driver has been driving while under the influence of alcohol. Remember that you can also be arrested for DUI for being under the influence of prescription pills, marijuana, methamphetamine, cocaine, heroin, and other illegal drugs. The officer will escort the driver under control unit, place them into handcuffs, conduct a search of their person, read the driver the Miranda implied consent and their rights for Miranda, and then be placed inside of a patrol car to be transported to the Henderson Detention Center.
As you can see, the helicopter flew over. The pilot will do a flyover determining the best location to land. Again, we have a firefighter down there set up a landing zone. He is in direct contact with the pilot. Mercy Air helicopter, again, was called to assist with the transport of a critically injured patient to the trauma center. The helicopter crew consists of the pilot, a flight nurse, and a flight paramedic. The flight crew has been in contact with the fire department members regarding the landing zone and the status of the patient. Once on scene, the flight crew will receive an update of the patient's condition and injury. The flight crew will perform an assessment of the patient prior to loading them in the helicopter. Once inside the helicopter, the transport will take approximately 5 minutes to the trauma center. The flight crew will continue providing advanced life support throughout the flight.
Once in custody, their rights basically say that the officers will be administering a test to determine the alcohol content in their system. If a person refuses to comply with the testing procedure, their arresting officer will immediately apply for a telephonic search warrant to obtain a blood sample necessary. When the officer is near the end of his or her investigation and the rescue units are clearing, the patrol units will contact the coroner's office. The coroner will conduct an independent investigation about the cause of death. Year to date, we've had over 1,000 calls regarding DUI in Henderson alone. Approximately a quarter of those have resulted in arrests related to DUI. DUI deaths nationally have totaled approximately 10,000 people. To put that in perspective, compare the student body. That's almost 3 times the entire student body of Coronado High School.
Again, on this scene, we have an ambulance crew that is our rescue crew, which is assisting with the loading of the patient, while we have our engine crew here providing advanced life support to the injured victim of that vehicle. As soon as we load the patient into the helicopter, the rescue will begin transport to the trauma center. We have a few fire guys that are not involved with the treatment or movement of patients. Their job is to start cleaning up the tools that were utilized so they can ready themselves for the next call. We have successfully transferred the patient to the helicopter crew. As you can hear the helicopter throttling up. The rescue crew is on its way back with the gurney. At that time, we'll take this patient and begin transport to the hospital. In the back of the rescue, the paramedics will provide advanced life support and do what is necessary to treat this patient. They will make radio contact with Sunrise Hospital to give a telemetry of the patient's status, so Sunrise Hospital will be aware of what the patient's status is as they arrive.
Once the injured are cleared from the vehicles, police officers will continue the investigation. They'll take notice of any debris, paraphernalia, alcohol or drugs left in the vehicle. Due to biohazards in the vehicle, officers will wear protective gloves and clothing. Included in the investigation will be insurance information, identification, and attempts to find out exactly who is operating the vehicle, as well as the passengers in the vehicle.
Once all the patients have been transported off the scene, the fire department again will clean up any equipment that is still out, ready the engines in the truck to respond on many more emergencies throughout their shift.
The roadway in the accident scene will remain closed to assist officers with investigating the accident. They'll determine angles and speeds. The officers who are gathering the evidence will also make a diagram of the scene. Using the diagram, the accident can be recreated for court. It can show a judge or a jury how the crash occurred, and it can assist officers in determining what direction the vehicles were going and at what speed. It can assist in determining what vehicles failed to follow the proper procedures and what led to the crash, in addition to any extenuating circumstances such as drugs or alcohol. Sometimes the scene will be painted, allowing officers to return at a later time in order to reconstruct the crash before coming to a final conclusion. Some vehicles have speed recording data as well as video recording data and dash cams, which not only assist officers but insurance companies in recreating accidents.
Fire department may remain on scene to assist in any needs the coroner has with the deceased patient.
Due to the fatality, the coroner was contacted. The coroner, as well as the mortuary, will work together to remove the body and transport the body to the coroner's office. The coroner will meet with officers and discuss the initial investigation conducted by arriving units. The coroner will take into account the injuries sustained by the victim to determine the exact cause of death. To do this, they will cut into the victim, remove the organs, inspect them, looking for the exact damage, weigh them, and in the end, will put the organs back into the victim's body for burial. This process includes sawing into the skull to remove the brain for inspection. In addition to the police officer's investigations and report, the coroner will formulate their own report. Collectively, both reports will be reviewed. Part of the coroner's investigation also includes photographs and diagrams and assists in identification of the deceased. This also includes fingerprinting and personal identification by family members. Again, DUI deaths nationally have totaled approximately 10,000 people in this year alone. In comparing that, it's more than 3 times the entire student body of Coronado High School. Once the coroner completes their investigation, again, they will share the information with the responding officers and the traffic units. When the body is ready for transport, they will request the mortuary to transport the body back to the office. As the injured are being attended to and the scene remains closed, tow trucks will be summoned to pick up the debris. The coroner will conclude their investigation and the mortuary will respond to remove the body from the scene. In addition to May through August being the deadly months for teens, regarding DUI accidents and fatalities, there's always a higher incidence regarding DUI and DUI-related crashes and deaths surrounding the holiday months. As no life-saving measures were possible for our victim, they'll be loaded onto the gurney to a body bag and transported by the mortuary to the coroner's office. Upon completion of the police officer's accident investigation, any pending charges could result in immediate arrest or submission for warrants of arrest regarding the accident. Once the coroner is finished, the officers will clear the scene. The vehicles will be removed, the tow trucks will arrive, and they will sweep up the debris. If the victim doesn't have any type of ID and we're unable to positively identify them, family member will make an in-person identification and verify the identity of the deceased. Once identification has been made, the body will be transported to the coroner's office by the mortuary. Tomorrow, life will go back to normal, but for most, and for those affected, their lives will never be the same. The streets will be cleaned, the cars will be removed, the debris will be cleaned, and the blood will be washed away. And now we have Assistant Principal Jamie Gilbert, who will be reading the obituaries.